Good evening, this is Kuro. Gonna do something a little different right now. I'm in my port and I'm gonna go over some of the hidden characteristics with the Japanese destroyers that can make these things really tanky if guys are playing them correctly. Right here, Tier 6 Hatsuharu. Um, Mainly what I want to focus on is the AA guns and their locations on some of these destroyers. In particular, in the locations where it's going to be really common where you're going to take shell hits, whether it's AP, HE, whatever. When you're looking at these ships, you see these little gun mounts here, here, down the sides. In the case of Hatsuharu, there's a ton of AA all over the place. This mount here, we've even got more guns up in here. Usually these high mounts right here, they're not too good at absorbing damage except at like max range shots where the shells are arcing in from the top. And then you're looking at it again from the front. You've got AA mounts here along the side of the bridge, up on top of the bridge. Obviously, your turrets can also absorb damage. But really what you're looking at is all of the different modules that you have on your ship to absorb damage. And a lot of the IJN DDs with these single gun AA mounts, they don't do anything towards shooting down planes. But being scattered throughout your ship, that's basically amounts to hidden HP that your ship has. Because when a shell hits that, it's either going to deplete that module's HP, or it's going to destroy the module. In either case, you won't actually take damage. And it's really important to figure out how to angle your ship to work that. In the case of Hatsuharu, you're looking at it from the stern, and you've got all of this area plus this gun. It pretty much is invulnerable to taking damage. Unless they can if they're close enough they can hit your hull, you'll actually take damage there. But anything up here on the deck and superstructure, you're pretty much good. You got this one little piece of superstructure here, and then you're into the side of a torp mount, and then we're back up in here where you got this little box in here. Then you're into more AA guns, and it makes this ship far more tanky than you would actually think this ship would be. And that's why this is one of those ships that it plays the scout very well. With its 5.8 kilometer detection, this thing can sneak in there, spot things, and if it gets detected when it starts running away, you're presenting very little surface where you can actually start taking damage beyond close quarters range, where they're just going to most likely hit your hull itself, and obviously there's no armor there. You'll be pinning that for days. Looking at Fubuki is another ship that kind of has the same situation here. It's not as well distributed as Hatsuharu, or actually maybe it is. But you got a couple AA mounts back here. You've got your turret. You've got AA mounts up here. You do have one gun, or actually two guns, hiding here along the superstructure. You got all your torp mounts. Again, these AA mounts up here, it seems like they're very rare to actually absorb any sort of damage unless it's like a USDD shooting you from like 8 kilometers out, and their shells are arcing in up here. At that point, they'll absorb damage. I don't honestly know if it's a design feature or not, because these guns here make up most of the AA DPS, so I find it kind of odd that these little guns scattered throughout your ship, they don't, kind of worthless. Yeah, they give you a little bit of DPM, but I don't know if they're actually there as balancing for hit points or not. It's something I'd really be interested in talking to Wargaming, see how, if that's actually was their design criteria. I mean, you look at it further up the ship, you've got a couple more AA mounts scattered throughout the ship, and then up on the bow, it's the same situation with that the Hatsaharu had, with a couple AA guns on either side of the bridge, AA gun up on in front of the bridge, and then obviously your turret. And again, it just makes these ships really tanky when you're fighting destroyers out, you know, beyond 7 kilometers for ships that have US destroyer arcs, because all of those shells are coming in from the top, and you've just got a lot of modules to absorb the damage. Akatsuki, she's one that she's a faster destroyer, and so I don't know if this is actually something that Wargaming looked at when they went to balance this ship. But you look at the difference here. You've only got one AA gun on the stern. Yeah, nothing along the superstructure, and then you're all the way up at the bridge before you start. Yeah, until you start getting into any other AA guns. So, but the difference is, but this ship with a speed flag is almost 40 knots compared to Hatsaharu. Probably gets somewhere around 38 knots with a flag. Fubuki, she's a dog, 35 knots without a flag. Looking at Shiratsuyu, it's the same thing with her with the Hatsaharu, with AA guns just all over the place. And Shira is actually really good with the amount of AA modules this ship has. It's almost ridiculous. I mean, you've got twin AA mounts practically all over the place. And again, when you're looking at the ships, you know, you start looking, what is there actually to damage up here on the deck and superstructure? I mean, you're into up here at this little piece of superstructure, and then right up in here in front of the torp tubes. I don't actually know if these sections are actually where the ship housed torpedo reloads. This is one of the Japanese boats that they were able to reload torpedoes at sea, and that's where they stored their reloads. I don't actually know if that's a hitbox or not, or if you know, well, maybe it, yeah, looking at the armor layout, it looks like it's probably not a hitbox. So, but regardless, you don't really have any AA mounts up in here. Just the torpedo tubes, and then up around the bridge. I mean, the bridge is basically ringed by AA, and all of it helps. I mean, I'd much rather lose AA than HP, that's for sure. Looking at Yagumo, it seems like the newer DDs seem to have this design a little bit better than some of the older boats, but again, I don't know if it's actually balancing that Wargaming did. I mean, you look at this boat, you look at the, you know, the different dispersion for the AA mounts along the stern. You got your turrets, and then you got more AA mounts. Let's see if there's any along the sides. This one's pretty bare around the sides, and then again up around the front, you're looking at, you know, AA mounts all over the place at the bridge. And just when you're looking at your ships, and this goes for all ships. I just highlight it with the Japanese destroyers because I feel that the design of these ships help it in game more than the other ships. The other ships tend to have a larger, cluster of AA. It's not spread out over the ship so much, so it's not really as effective as almost like a type of armor compared to the Japanese destroyers, going all the way up to Shimakaze. And I mean, it's the same thing, up around the bridge. You've got a couple AA mounts back in here, and then AA guns all along the stern. And I mean, you look at these boats, they're all very narrow, and this is part of the reason why I think these boats are really good when it comes to radar heavy metas, because you look at cruiser dispersion, and if you're angled directly away from a cruiser, the vast majority of their shells are all landing around you. And that's even before you start juking. So, this is just a quick video. Wanted to highlight some design features that maybe some people haven't recognized with these boats, and maybe get people thinking a different way about how to angle their boats to potentially reduce the amount of damage that they'll take in certain types of engagements. Hope you guys found the video useful, and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to go in depth like this with kind of the nitty-gritty of different ins and outs when it comes to different destroyers, and maybe some suggestions on how to play them and position them, things like damage mitigation, things like that. And I'd be more than happy to share what I've learned over the course of the past couple years playing destroyers competitively. Again, this is Kuro, and hope you guys have a great night.